BSV blockchain. It's time for a better world. By Jimmy and Nguyen, BSV Blockchain Association.
Time. I've been thinking a lot about time recently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Time measures moments in life and organizes so much of it. I was thinking a lot about it last October when I went to a family wedding with my parents who got married many, many years ago in Vietnam, as you see here. And they moved to Southern California where I was raised. And they came with me to a wedding of some relatives and did something I never expected them to do, which is actually get up and dance, because my parents are completely antisocial people, do not like to do anything in public. But they had one of those dances during the wedding reception where they invited all the married couples onto the dance floor and then gradually eliminated couples based on the length of their marriage. So my parents, who do not like to dance, got up, spent a lot of time on the dance floor, and lo and behold, ended up being the last couple standing, celebrating 59 years of marriage and a life of time spent in 2 different countries. People clapped, I cried a little bit, and really thought about how time measures so much of the progress of our lives. And it also measures so much in technology. And that's why humans have always had this fascination with time. We created structures oriented to a solstice to reach time for the seasons. We created in ancient Egypt a device, the sundial, to measure time in 12 equal parts from sunrise to sunset. Time became mechanical with clocks and towers in Western Europe. And then in the 1960s, technology advanced so much that we created an atomic clock so accurate it could measure time down to the millisecond. Then we went up to the skies with satellites that were coordinating time across the world, all with one common goal: to provide order and organization to life. Because that's what time also does. With ledgers, accounting entries for payments or other data, it allows us to track and organize the entries and therefore detect cheating, dishonesty. And that's why I'm here today to talk about time and its relevance to blockchain technology and how we, with the BSV blockchain, Bitcoin SV, are scaling that power finally to global usage. So in my time today, I want to talk to you about how time is relevant to blockchain, what we're doing with BSV, and more importantly, give you examples of some of the powerful use cases of how this time element can create a better world. It all starts with 2 research scientists who in the 1990s asked an important question, Stuart Hayward and Scott Stornetta. They are 2 famed researchers in the Northern California area who asked an important question at the emergence of the internet. If we start creating more records, documents that are digital, how do we know those documents are authentic? How do we know they're true? They actually researched this and published these 3 papers about how to digitally timestamp a document. And they did so that you could have a timed verification of whether a record was accurate or not and publish that information so people could see. And it is in these papers that the idea of a blockchain, publishing records of information for people to see and verify, was born. And if you actually read the Bitcoin white paper released by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008, which birthed this entire industry we're here for today, it is the element of time that is critical. It birthed the idea of a peer-to-peer electronic cash system so that I could send to anyone in the world, such as my friend Eduardo over there from Italy, instantly money without an intermediary in the middle. And how it did that was by taking advantage of the power of timestamping. Because if you've actually read the white paper, go down to the very bottom, the references. 3 of the footnote references in the Satoshi white paper are these papers about digital timestamping. Because that's what Bitcoin and blockchain does. It's a record of transactions recorded by date and time that allows a more efficient transfer of money value without someone in the middle controlling the information. And I got the fortune to moderate a panel with these two famed scientists, as well as the very famous Dr. Craig S. Wright, inventor of Bitcoin, as well as financial cryptographer Ian Grigg in New York last October. And the things I learned were about the importance of why Bitcoin's paper did not even use the term blockchain. We are here at AIBC, Artificial Intelligence and Blockchain. But the paper that birthed the entire industry does not even use the word blockchain. It uses distributed timestamp server, timestamping payments, one person to another, and distributing that for everyone to see in a published verifiable way. It also used the term time chain, not in the paper, but in the notes to the original Bitcoin client software, the source code. Satoshi did not use the word blockchain. He referred to it as a time chain. It's a reinforcement of the reason time is so important to how blockchain works. So that's all a blockchain is, a distributed timestamp server. This is a screenshot from a block explorer for Bitcoin SV, and it shows transactions recorded by date and time, published so you can all see it and make sure no one is cheating. And because it's not controlled by just one person in the middle, but published in a distributed manner, it ensures two powerful virtues: honesty and efficiency. Honesty and efficiency. What are we doing with the BSV blockchain to unleash the power even more? Well, very simple. We're scaling. The thing that blockchains around the world try to do but have been mostly unsuccessful. Bitcoin, BTC, the version most of you know, has stuck itself at one tiny megabyte block sizes. 2 to 4 of you have block weight using SegWit. That means on chain, at 1 megabyte, you're doing a maximum of 7 transactions a second. Nowhere near the capacity of the Visa network, which does 2 to sometimes 24,000 transactions per second, depending on market activity. So if Bitcoin was designed to be a more efficient world, a more efficient money system, it cannot do so with a tiny block size and tiny capacity. With BSV, we're going for an unbounded scaling approach through a lot of technical work and a new enterprise class version of the node software, which has already been able to demonstrate 50 to 100,000 transactions a second, more than the Visa network. And we're going even bigger because we want the time power of the Bitcoin blockchain to power not just payments, but all of the digital interactions of our lives, from connected devices like our phones, our cars, our smart homes. And because of the bigger block size on BSV, we've been able to demonstrate on the network easily up to 2 gigabyte, 2,000 megabytes in size, which we've done in August of last year. And more recently in January, the miners on the network raised the block cap to 4 gigabytes. That's over 4,000 megabytes, 4,000 times the capacity of the BTC network, and we've already successfully hit a 3.8 gigabyte block in February. It's becoming regular, and this is how you unleash the power of recording transactions across time for more and more usages. It also has an efficiency benefit, because as you know, when you send a transaction across a blockchain network, you have to pay a fee to the miners, transaction processors, or validators to incentivize them to take the transaction. On the BTC network, the fees are both high and, more importantly, unreliable. Over the last year in 2021, they ranged from about 80 US cents to over 30 US dollars to send a BTC transaction. No one will use this at scale, including for micropayments to power all of the digital devices of the future at that cost. And Ethereum's even worse. For a while, I and many other people thought this would be the dominant business blockchain. But its gas fees have ranged over the last year from about $3.80 US cents, still far too high, to almost 70 US dollars. That is far too high to create a world where you're minting all your NFTs on Ethereum, where you're sending all kinds of token transactions or smart contract activity on Ethereum. On BSV, a payment over the last year had a median transaction fee of 1/20th to 1/100th of a US cent. 1/20th to 1/100th of a US cent. Almost free. And we think that number's even too high. We think it needs to go even lower, and will with more scaling to get down to 1/1000th of a US cent and fulfill what Satoshi envisioned in the Bitcoin white paper, which is the use of Bitcoin not for big payments to be held by Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy in their treasury accounts, but for small, casual transactions. A phrase in the Bitcoin white paper often ignored: small, casual transactions. so that it can power the IoT devices and micropayments and games of the future and today. Because of the scaling power of BSV, we're seeing a significant uptick in transaction volume, where the bitinfocharts.com website, you can check it out yourself, tracks daily transaction activity of all the major leading chains. Over the last few months, BSV's transaction numbers have been growing. So in January, for example, on this day of January 12th, we had over 54% of the tracked chains transactions, over 4 million daily transactions. I just checked this morning, and it's about 3 million daily transactions over the last 24 hours. More than these other chains combined. And we're handling it without problem, making BSV the ideal blockchain choice for consumers, enterprise, and government. We have the smart contract token, IoT, computation, and data management capabilities, and the virtues of a public ledger to provide efficiency and honesty. The use cases being built on BSV are diverse, not just payments, but everything you see above on this screen, from accounting and audit, esports, online games, big data, even environmental and sustainability compliance. I want to give you some examples of how all of this, especially through the use of time, makes a better world. Enchain is one of the companies that's here with us today in AIBC, and they are one of the largest blockchain R&D firms in the world, with one of the largest blockchain patent portfolios of inventions in the world. They have a data integrity platform called Kensei, which is enabling people to enable trust in data. So basically, if you have an industry that needs to verify the accuracy of data by date and time, they create layers where they can send that data or a hash, a digital fingerprint of it, to the blockchain to confirm that the testing data for a COVID vaccination was true on a certain date and time, to confirm that if you're opening a bank account with a bank, it has pulled your KYC information on a certain date and time to comply with regulatory requirements. This is also useful for such things as COVID vaccination tracking. VX Technologies is a startup in the United States which has an app that allows people to more verifiably prove and track when they got their COVID vaccinations, for which you all know the time and the date you got it is important to confirm whether or not you're deemed vaccinated in certain countries. They've rolled out the application with a number of partners, including the country of Lesotho at the bottom of Africa and a number of other African countries, using the power of time at scale to advance public health. Invoice management is another pain point for many businesses. With me on stage in a few moments will be Muhammed Salman, who runs our BSV hub for the Middle East. He's also the chief mate of a company called Invoice Mate, which uses our blockchain to track invoices across their journey in real time. So you don't have to bother calling someone saying, where's my invoice? Did you pay it? Everyone can see it in real time. He's also using his technology to work with governments. From Pakistan, the Sindh Police is using his platform to track enterprise resource management data, which is important for public verifiability. How many guns left the police station that day? How many bullets came back? Because the public has a right to know that information by date and time. Here in the UAE, we're working with the University of Sharjah, which is in the neighboring emirate, to develop an R&D project for academic and professional certification tracking using the blockchain to limit the ability of people to cheat about their academic credentials, but to provide more real-time access to employers, people who want to know, do you have that degree? Do you have a certain certification? Is it still valid at this date and time? We're also helping an entire nation. Enchain is working with the small island nation of Tuvalu in the South Pacific, which is a collection of 8 or 9 islands, which is actually at risk of sinking due to water rising because of climate change. Predicting a possible future where they may have to actually move all of their people to a new landmass, they are taking all of their government and citizen records and moving them to a digital ledger being built on BSV. They needed a ledger with public verifiability, with the efficiency of holding a lot of data for very low fees, and that could track things by date and time, hence the BSV blockchain. Of course, we can't forget about payments, what birthed Bitcoin and blockchain in the first place. You'll be hearing soon from one of the co-founders from Spain of HandCash, one of the top Bitcoin wallets in the world, not just for BSV, I think in the world. So easy, so efficient, that they can use micropayments to be able to send you tiny amounts of money and track them by date and time to make sure you're not getting a double spent coin. This is a screenshot of my wallet from the other day, and you can see people have sent me small amounts of money, 1 penny, 0.0025 US cents. Why did they do that? It's just for fun. Maybe they like me. But it's to demonstrate the power of micropayments at scale. Instead of just Bitcoin for big investors, Bitcoin to power all of our internet activities. That's how efficient BSV is. So you can create a better world for the internet. Imagine not having to pay for a subscription to read the newspaper online, but paying per article a small amount of money pulled out of your Bitcoin wallet. Imagine paying by minute of video on YouTube as opposed to watching all of the ads. Imagine actually paying to get your email to the top of someone's email inbox. Imagine a world where you actually are willing to give your location data all the time in the app because someone's paying you small BSV micropayments for every minute or every 10 minutes that you are getting that data given to them. There are so many possible opportunities. We can make digital advertising better, such as Tonic Pow, a startup in the United States is doing, to increase the effectiveness of digital ads where you earn money by recommending a digital ad campaign to your friends who you know will actually like that product because you know them better and you'll earn small amounts of BSV micropayments. Or Relica, which takes a reinvention of Instagram where you actually, as the user, make money by posting pictures, and anytime someone likes or engages with your picture, your data is not sold to advertisers. You get small amounts of BSV micropayments from them. They're also dropping virtual items that you can go collect and play games. NFTs are a huge topic all over the world, and one of the advantages of using BSV is not just making NFTs, but putting them on chain. Did you realize that if you're making an NFT on OpenSea or Rarible, these Ethereum-driven NFT platforms, the asset you're buying probably does not live on chain. It lives in an AWS server or an IPFS somewhere. You're just getting a digital token of ownership. BSV is so efficient, however, you can actually put the asset on chain, where it's too expensive to do on Ethereum, because if you tried those platforms, it can cost 60, 80 US dollars to mint an NFT. Well, on BSV, this company in the US, Nifty Jigs, last year minted 175,000 NFTs for a total cost of 175 US dollars to the network. Almost free, not entirely free, but almost free, opening up many, many possibilities. For biometric identity verification, there's a company, Palm Fusion, you'll hear from tomorrow, which uses readings of the palm of your hand to actually allow you to use your hand identity as the authentication for a wallet, a payment wallet, as you're seeing here. And they will be working with nChain to integrate BSV blockchain capability to record and log the authentication events by date and time. Imagine using your hand to go pay for something, or using your hand to actually have access control into a door or building, or to start a car. That's the type of technology Palm Fusion is creating, and they'll be using our blockchain to manage a lot of the data by date and time. And this is why IPv6 is so important. IPv6 is another iteration of the internet protocol, which is coming into the world. About 45% of, for example, homes here in the UAE probably have IPv6. And it's needed instead of IPv4 because it enables more unique IP addresses. We've run out of unique IP addresses. There's not enough. There's only 4 billion approximately for IPv4. Not enough for every human. It's certainly not enough for every connected device in the world. Whereas with IPv6, the estimates are you can generate more than 10 quintillion unique IP addresses. Why is that relevant? It's relevant because we're getting to a world of all these connected devices, and all of the devices will be able to communicate data to each other, as well as send little micropayments, which we believe BSV can power. And that is the world we are working towards, and that's why we're actually working with the Global IPv6 Forum to partner with them on joint educational efforts to teach about this combined power of BSV and the IPv6 protocol. It's why we're also bringing this better world through education with Saudi Arabia. We were there in February, and we've announced a partnership with the Saudi Digital Academy, an initiative of the Ministry of Communications and IT, to launch the kingdom's first ever blockchain academy, which we focused on BSV. And recently, we were also in Pakistan, and we'll be announcing soon a collaboration with the Presidential Initiative for AI and Computing and the Pakistan Freelancers Association, also to teach them about all of these powers of the BSV blockchain. If you want to learn more about it, come visit us again in 2 months at the end of May. The BSV Global Blockchain Convention will be here in Dubai, May 24th through 26th. Go to globalblockchainconvention.com. That's in 2 months' time. And now as I wrap up my time, I want to give one final thanks to my parents who taught me so much about how you can progress your life, make it meaningful across years. They've done that in Vietnam, they've done that in Southern California. And when I get the opportunity, I like to think about the things they've taught me about the meaning of time for humanity. Because time is something that humans have always found fascinating. We measured it by looking to the skies, to the moon, to the sun, building structures oriented to a solstice, devices that measure time in 12 equal parts throughout the day. And in the darkness, though, we needed the flow of water, the flow of sand, the flow of melting wax, reminding us that time flows continuously. Then came mechanical clock towers, swinging pendulums with harmonic motion, a device small enough for a wrist, a clock that is atomic, digital. And then we look back to the skies, synchronizing moments we want to remember and celebrate. For time organizes our lives, measures speed and performance, provides order to detect truth and reveal dishonesty. And time connects the world with a common system. Using time, Bitcoin and blockchain connects the world with a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, recording transactions in a distributed ledger, organized into blocks, connected across time. Satoshi called it a timestamp server, a time chain, powering a new way to record digital payments and all forms of data action, yielding transparency by providing a universal source of truth. But for too long, Bitcoin and blockchain's power was restricted by those who did not want to see it scale. And after all this time, Bitcoin and blockchain's power is here with BSV. And it is time to make blockchain useful for everyone. It is time to make business and government systems more honest and efficient. And it is time to build a better world with the BSV blockchain. It's about time. I have the privilege of moderating the next 2 sessions you're going to hear, which will continue our journey through the BSV ecosystem. So to help me now talk about the world of payments and fintech on BSV, I want to welcome to the stage 3 great founders of BSV Ventures. They are Alex Agut, who is the CEO and co-founder of HandCash, as well as Daniel Lipshitz. And Alex comes to us from Spain by way of Andorra. And then Daniel Lipshitz comes to us from Israel. He is the CEO of a company called Gap 600 and a new company called Change Digital Commerce. And also to the stage is the head of our BSV hub for the Middle East and South Asia, and also the chief mate of a company called Invoice Mate, Muhammed Salman Anjum. Give them a round of applause, guys. Thank you. So, hi Alex, welcome to Dubai. This is Alex's first time in Dubai. What do you say? What do you say in Espanol?
It's great, they've been lying to us in my whole country. In my country, this is the real first world.
Yes, the real first world, not España. So what we're going to do is have each of these fine gentlemen do a very short overview of their companies and products and how they use BSV to make a better world. We're going to start with Alex once we get his presentation up. Steve, when you get a chance, can I get his presentation up? Meanwhile, we'll just, we'll have Muhammed talk briefly about what you've been doing with BSV to grow here in the Middle East and South Asia.
Yeah, good day everyone. I started as a permission blockchain expert, and it was like a couple of years we were doing that, using that for government applications and enterprise application. Then in one event, I found Jimmy, who introduced me to the BSV, and I saw all of what he showed to you in the last his presentation, and we actually started using BSV since then, and it's literally getting huge power to our own development and plus our users as well. So yes, whatever he showed to you in the last presentation, we've been living it. We have been providing it to our clients for last 1+ year.
Right. And your company was using Hyperledger, which is a very common ledger choice that a lot of companies and governments want to explore. Can you compare and contrast what the experience or qualities of BSV versus Hyperledger are for your type of fintech application?
Yeah, first of all, there is always a permission blockchain been getting a favor because of 2 reasons. One, it is like sovereign when it comes to the control within the organization, and B, it's the cost of transaction, which is nothing when it comes to the permission blockchain. Now, the second part is very beneficial when we use BSV blockchain. You saw that, yes, 1/100th of the 1 cent, that's the cost of per transactions. One project been referred here for the Sindh police in Pakistan. We've been, this has been deployed since October last year. Till now, it's not been costing us $100 for the whole transaction fee. So that is the power of this blockchain, that the transaction fee gets very, very low. And B, if you want to partner with the ecosystem, there is an ecosystem partner that named as TAL, and they can also give you a fixed number of transaction for a fixed number of time. That's also a big issue with the CFOs. They don't want to use public blockchains because they don't have a visibility on the budgeting. So if you have a budgeting visibility, you have to have this BSV on your applications.
And Alex, so you operate a mobile wallet that allows people to send and receive BSV instantly to each other. What's the typical transaction fee that is paid to the network when you send one of these micropayments like I showed?
Oh, it's way below what you said in your presentation.
It's way below, even less.
Typically, it's like 0.0003 USD per transaction.
Okay.
So it's basically free.
Basically free. Yeah, we're getting slides up, right, Steve? Yeah, in a second. All right. Daniel, so you have been working in one business, but you're launching a stablecoin business, right? Tell us about that in 2 seconds.
Yes, so we've launched a company called Change Digital Commerce based out of Zug in Switzerland. And what it's fully focused on is a stablecoin issuance platform. And we're building it fully exclusively on Bitcoin SV.
And why compared to the other chains that have stablecoins?
Well, the primary reason is that we view Bitcoin SV as the original design of Bitcoin. And not that that's just a novelty. That has far-reaching implications. Because the actual infrastructural design of Bitcoin SV has by far better capability of scaling and better capability of being stable than anything else that we've seen in the market. And if you're interested in supporting global adoption and building products that is mass used, scaling and stability is of critical importance. And so we see an explosion of use cases in BSV, and we want to support a methodology of payments in a medium of exchange that everyone's comfortable with.
All right, so we're going to go to Alex in a second. After I mentioned Minute Money, this is a remittance product by a company in South Africa called CentB, which uses the BSV ledger as rails to actually make more efficient the cost of sending money across borders, which can be 6 to 8% in some remittance products. Their cost a flat amount of 50 Rand in South Africa, about $3.25 US cent to send any amount because they have to take a fee, and they have enabled this across 7 to 8 African countries to increase the efficiency of sending payments. So Alex, tell us about HandCash.
Yeah. We started HandCash because we wanted to use Bitcoin like 7 years ago in the startup we had back then. But we realized it was so complicated to implement. It was very difficult for users, and you had all these geeky things like the 12 words, confirmations, waiting
seed
time.
words. I hate seed words.
Everybody hates them. So basically, what we did was we started this startup, and with the vision of building Bitcoin for the rest of us, and that not only included making it easier for users, but also for developers, because it was very hard to integrate. So with HandCash, you can integrate payments into any app or game, and the coolest thing is that because the Bitcoin BSV blockchain is so cheap to run, we can offer for the first time ever micropayments to companies. And it's very cool because there are a lot of companies that are leaving a lot of money on the table because they don't have these tools. So for example, I bet that all of you have had this experience. You are on Twitter, you see that there's a trending article on the New York Times or whatever, and you enter and realize, oh, all of a sudden that it's a premium article, and it asks you for a monthly subscription to read the article. So you're leaving money on the table by not offering the chance to the user to just pay 10 cents to read the article.
Right.
And so right now we offer an SDK for integrating your micropayments inside your apps and games. And we have also a HandCash app gallery, which is the way we call it. And this helps with the distribution, so your HandCash users will find your app easily. And we have all kinds of apps. For example, this is great for gambling sites. This is great for social media, for video games, for sports betting. Yeah. There's a lot of apps. And it's very, very cool to get started with HandCash. And we added the top up with credit card feature, which is something that was in very high demand. And the reason we didn't do it before is because we had to deal with crypto companies. And the problem with crypto companies is that they are used to the old ways of doing things and slow payments and confirmations and stuff. So we had to build our own. And in about 45 seconds, you can top up your wallet with a credit card and start using it into these apps and games.
Yeah, I've tested it. It's good. Yeah, it helps solve the issue of needing to onboard to an exchange, which takes a while and get verified. If you want someone to start using your app, your game right away through their HandCash app, they can just start with a credit card.
It's because if we are removing complexity for users, it doesn't make any sense that we have to send them elsewhere to an exchange to deal with all the complexity we already removed.
Right. So HandCash, the most user-friendly mindset in the Bitcoin business, I think. All right. Daniel, tell us about Change and how you're going to change digital commerce.
So as I mentioned, we're a Swiss-based company focused on stablecoin issuance. Our vision is to bring the transactional efficiencies that Bitcoin SV provides and bring that towards commerce and financial activities. We're focused on mass adoption. We're only interested in everyday use and everyone, to be short. So for us, being regulatory compliant is of critical importance. We're focused and interested in listing as many currencies as possible, as long as we can find a relevant partner in a relevant jurisdiction. We're building on BSV, and I'd like to mention the protocol we're mentioning on, which is the STAS protocol. And it's an extremely unique protocol in what we call the blockchain industry, or can be referred to as crypto. It's extremely relevant because it's completely on-chain and it's completely in Bitcoin. And that has far-reaching capabilities just from its stability and its security and scalability, because Bitcoin in its original design is phenomenally scalable, despite what you've been told. We're focused on working with partners, as I mentioned, working in jurisdictions with local partners. We're looking at servicing first-tier applications and exchanges, and for them, enabling them to bring as much value as possible to their end users. Thanks.
All right, now Muhammed is going to tell us about how his product makes the invoice process and payment system easier.
It's been in the space for 5 years and always been coming from a corporate background. I was searching for some pain points which blockchain can solve in the real businesses. So invoices, as we know that there are always some issues with the vendors and clients having some discrepancies, for example, duplication, sometimes losing the invoices. There is always an inefficiency and the pain points relevant to the insecurities at trust level on the invoicing processes. That's not enough. That's not it, like it. There are more issues with the invoicing. For example, crypto payments are coming in, but there are no invoicing platforms to issue invoices in crypto, receive invoices in crypto, and then of course settle them in crypto as well. So which is a big concern in this world now. We, coming up with this Invoice Mate, are trying to solve all of this through the invoicing ecosystem or platform powered by BSV blockchain. So from invoice generation to its processing, which takes sometimes a longer than usual and on a non-digitized platform, and especially non-blockchain platform, and then the validation for the payment part, or in some cases the financing part, which is again something very big. So we are coming up with the new concept known as Know Your Invoice. So that is useful for the banks, that is useful for the financial institutions to know their invoice which they need to, they are going to fund or they are going to finance a factor. So this is a big mate for their invoice factoring process. This is how we are doing it. We are bringing the whole ecosystem which is involved in the invoicing, the accounting staffs, the different relevant functions who are approving the invoices in the organization, are cross-organization. Then the banks or financial institutions which are involved to fund or finance the invoices. So the whole ecosystem is on this Invoice Mate, which is integrated with the legacy systems of theirs and also with their other banking systems as well. We are using blockchain BSV for a purpose, of course, because of the low transaction fee, because of its fast speed and scalability as well. This is our one of the case study I'm showing on screen, which is the Salix, Saudi Agriculture and Livestock Investment Company. They've been using it, and they're different users like suppliers, approvers, accounting staff, leadership. They're all using it for different purposes and getting benefits out of using the Invoice Mate. For today's AIBC Summit, we are offering a free download, and you can download it for free. All our AIBC delegates are welcome to do the downloads.
Free download. Leave the slide up. Free downloads. Alex, where's your free download? No free download for you? Your app's already free to download, so.
They've always been.
Yeah. So now we've talked about all the great things about BSV. There's some great benefits of it. That's why all your companies have chosen to build on BSV. But let's talk about some of the misconceptions that people face when you tell them you're working on BSV. What are they, and how do you address them?
Typically it's because all of this Twitter drama about the forks and stuff.
Twitter drama, yeah.
So, but it's meaningless for, if you talk to companies, they only want something that really works and that it's proven. They don't want to be beta testers for the new blockchain technology that's around.
Right, yeah.
So I guess with Bitcoin SV, the cool thing is that it's been around since the inception of Bitcoin.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
we just remove the limits.
Yeah, basically the ledger history dates back to the same Genesis block of BTC, and it's a split chain. We won't debate who forked from who, because that's a whole debate, but it has the same properties and security. Daniel, what about you? As you're building your business, how do you address the questions about BSV?
I would agree further with what Alex is saying, is that when you speak to enterprise-focused and mass adoption-focused services, who are less focused on the speculative side of blockchain and cryptocurrency, they're really just interested in can it perform, how it can perform. We've had some discussions here with integrators from Asia, from Africa, who were interested. I would say definitely the major misconception that everyone has about Bitcoin is that it doesn't have computational capacity, it doesn't have tokenization capacity. The use case of data integrity, of data auditability is not fully aware. And the initial design of Bitcoin as implemented by BSV has those aspects fully front.
Yeah, so let me underline that, reinforce that. I hear this all the time. People say, oh, I didn't realize you could do tokens or smart contracts on a Bitcoin blockchain. You can. I didn't realize you could have all this data on a blockchain. You can with Bitcoin. And the reason people have this misconception is setting aside the political debates between the Bitcoin chains, the Bitcoin core protocol developers that took control of the BTC chain made choices to restrict the data capacity, so it was harder to do things like tokens and smart contracts on Bitcoin, which is what led to the birth of Ethereum, because Vitalik and founders wanted to actually build that on Bitcoin, but could not. They restricted or turned off certain features in the opcodes, the scripting language, which is the primitive scripting language of Bitcoin, so that it was harder to do smart contracts and tokens. It was possible, but much, much harder. What we did when the chain split is not just scale bigger for bigger data and cheaper fees, but restored. We spent years of work restoring carefully much of the original protocol and power of the Bitcoin scripting language and opcodes, so that now bright entrepreneurs and developers are launching a smart contract language, computational applications on Bitcoin, because it was always possible. We believed in it even though the Bitcoin core people did not. Muhammed. So Muhammed came to AIBC last year here in Dubai when we weren't here, mostly because of COVID. He lives here. And he then called me up afterwards and said, Jimmy, Muhammed is super well-liked and popular across all of land. Anyone who meets him will respect, like him, very well known in the blockchain space here. He joined our BSV movement last year, and he came last year and said, people won't talk to me. My friends won't talk to me because I'm now representing BSV, even though I think it's the best blockchain. Why do you think that happened, and what have you done to address it? Because, I'll be blunt, it's a question people face, and it's because, to some people, BSV is controversial, when it shouldn't be.
Yes, indeed. It has like been almost 10 months. The AIBC last time happened in May. And I remember that kind of a bash I received as a BSV head for the region. But I'm seeing the change, and that change is because of the good media. We are starting to gain, not like buy. We are like, of course, doing projects with renowned universities, renowned government institutions, and that's what bringing people to know BSV. The problem with BSV is people were not knowing what it is capable of. And finally, now they have started with the interventions we are doing with academia, with the government institutions, that there is a good side to it, which is its performance, which is its technology. Yes, maybe there is a controversy. Okay, that's a part, but technology and performance, you just see that, utilize that, and see how it can give you the benefit. And that's what we have gathered in last 1 year. The efforts has been there under you, and I think there is a fruit coming out of that, that in this AIBC, we are well received now.
Speaking of key local allies, one of ours just walked into the main stage area. That's Dr. Mohammed Al-Hamari from the University of Sharjah. You'll hear from him on stage tomorrow, but he's one of our key people who's joined our Blockchain Advisory Council for BSV. So let's give a word up to one of the most knowledgeable men in blockchain here in the UAE, Dr. Mohammed. We'll hear from him tomorrow. So in our final minutes here, what kinds of companies, partnerships, or maybe investors are you looking to meet and would like to collaborate while you're here at AIBC? Alex.
Oh, for what I've been seeing, gaming companies.
Gaming companies.
Gaming
Perfect
companies.
for your wallet, right? Yeah.
Oh, it's great because
micropayments.
In HandCash, we have a lot of users that are really active with their games that we have, and I think there are many of these companies that we have over here that are using some technology that's kind of experimental, or they're waiting for a layer 3 or whatever to work.
Layer 3, we're at layer 3 now.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that BSV has been working since inception.
Yeah.
And we have developers that are making money, so they don't care if you don't like BSV or whatever, because users don't mind, and it's a great platform for gaming. Yeah, so yeah. I'm, if anybody here that has a gaming company, just come to me and we'll talk.
Gaming companies, talk to Alex Agut, HandCash, and his co-founder, Rafa Jimenez Iban, back there. All right, Daniel, who are you looking to meet with and collaborate with here?
So we're looking to meet with banking partners, ideally Swiss banking partners. So that's a primary use or strategic partnership for us. I would also say we're looking for investors not venture investors, but actual yield investors to support our growth as we expand. And that's our primary sourcing.
Got it. And then when your stable coins are issued, which you say are going to be in a lot of the leading world currency, right? British pound, US dollar, euro, maybe UAE dirham. Where do you want those distributed? What types of companies would you want to engage with? Exchanges, payment service providers? Where would they go?
So we're focusing on utility and actual use and all sorts of capabilities which require transactions, less so as opposed to speculation. Mm-hmm. So exchanges do play a role.
No, I'm sorry.
So exchanges do play a role, but we'd look for partners like HandCash, Invoice, or even obviously companies completely outside of the BSV space, because there rarely is capacity to integrate it without even knowing that you're using BSV.
Can I add something?
Sure.
The cool thing is that if by us working together, nobody's even going to notice that we are using BSV. And
because
they're going to
consumers
just
don't
use
care, right? Like one day, if people are using a digital dirham, a digital US dollar, the average consumer, people here fight over blockchains, but at a mass adoption level, nobody cares what blockchain's on. They just want money to go in and out of their wallet, and they want to play a game or read a newspaper article when they want to read it. So choose the most efficient. Muhammed, what are you looking for in terms of business partnerships or alliances here?
Yeah, first of all, for the invoice made, the financial institutions who want to know more about their invoices, which they are financing or factoring. And of course, as MadeSol, which is the mother company of Invoice Made, we are now coming into the gaming, and in I think few minutes from now, our partner company, GameStorm Studio, will be coming up. And I think there's much about gaming in this arena, and looking forward for that.
Okay. I think on that, we can wrap up this panel. Please give these gentlemen a big round of applause for their contributions. Thank you. And I'm sitting up here for one last session that'll be quick, which will be a really hot, fun topic, which is the world of NFTs and games. How do we make them better with BSV? So I'll excuse these gentlemen. I'm going to bring up my next two panelists to talk about how we can get better games and NFTs. So I see them here. Hey, Steve, could I get the next slide presentation up? All right, where's Brooklyn and Raheel? So I'm bringing up to the stage two really smart gentlemen. One comes to us from Pakistan. He is the CEO of a large, significant game studio called GameStorm Studios, as well as OZ Technology he'll tell you about. And also just arriving this morning after a 42-hour hair-brained saga to get to Dubai, Brooklyn Earick, who is the Chief Marketing Officer and co-founder of a really cool company called Rad NFTv. Please give a round of applause to Brooklyn and Raheel. Yay. All right, so can I get the slide presentation screen? So you've heard very cheap fees on BSV. You've heard you can put NFTs on chain because it's so cheap. Nifty Jigs minted 175,000 NFTs last year for just $175 US. That's why we're seeing all kinds of NFTs like these games and art and collectible dogs emerging on BSV. Now to talk to you about how his company is going to be using BSV, let's turn to Brooklyn and tell us how rad is rad. Here's a couple of slides of your channels.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Jimmy. Rad NFTv, we are a streaming platform primarily focused on building tools for Web3 video. How we got there was started the company in 2015. Started off as a distribution platform for virtual reality, augmented reality, 360 video. We were actually called Little Star back then. One of the first companies to really focus heavily on distributing immersive content. Those files were gigantic, and so as we were storing, moving around, streaming those files, we ended up building an in-house P2P file sharing system called Aura. A lot of our engineers came from like LimeWire, Spotify, LimeWire back in the news lately, and so these guys really have a deep history in P2P and sort of these immersive technologies. Over the years, we started getting less into just the immersive space and kind of limped into the traditional streaming. Never with the intent to, compete with like a Netflix or Hulu or anything like that, but we're kind of this geeky corner of the internet where it's not, user-generated content. It's all premium, very well made. We have a lot of esports, sports entertainment, anime, documentaries, stuff like that. And then in 2017, we really started adding in a lot of these Web3 options. So smart contracts where people could self-publish, set their own royalties. And that's kind of led us to where we are today, where we're on about 500 million devices. So we're on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, PlayStation VR, a bunch of smart TVs, iOS app. We reward people in crypto, so instead of the pay to watch, the watch to earn type of model. But then for creators, as we started making these Web3 tools for video, we realized that, why sort of focus on one chain when our P2P file manager could handle them all and really give people a choice. And that's how we started looking into BSV. Some of our investors and partners are like Disney, Sony, Fox, WWE. We have some really big media companies. It's tough for them to come to Ethereum or some of these other blockchains and really have the opportunity to do a lot of minting of NFTs or streaming video in general. And as we started looking into BSV, it just really made a lot of sense where, scales quickly, low payments, kind of checked a lot of boxes. And then for us, it was good to have on the file manager. If you're uploading a piece of content to our platform, you can see it all, just plain numbers right there. Here's how much it is to go on Ethereum. Here's how much it is to go on Solana. Here's how much it is on BSV. And kind of make your choice for there.
What's the comparison of the price difference? Give us a sample comparison.
I mean, it's not even close. It's BSV is not even a penny in most cases. Everything else, and again, it's just more about the choice for the user. But our users are both, kind of the everyday content creators making stuff for YouTube that are looking for new distribution, and we have sort of these big Hollywood studio partners. So important to have a little bit of both.
You have one more slide, I think, to show.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and this is just kind of a slide about some of the technologies we currently offer on our platform. As I mentioned, started in the immersive world, have moved into Web3. We have an NFT marketplace, so content creators can come to our platform. They can launch an NFT collection to fund their content creation, and then in turn have distribution on our platform to the 500 million devices that we're offered on. So right now, we're really focused on building out the creator portal and providing more choices, as I mentioned, for content creators and companies to scale their abilities.
Great, fantastic. I'll take this from you for a second. Now we're going to turn to games. We've gone from live streaming and NFTs to games. And so micropayments are really powerful. There's a company in the US called Haste Arcade, which has created a platform where you can earn small amounts of money from the amount. For example, Ahmed pays to play a video game, 25 cents in the old arcade days. If you get on the leaderboard, everyone who comes after you, if they don't beat your score, you get a tiny little fraction of their payment, which is a really inventive business model. And the company generating a lot of transactions on our chain is Crypto Fights. It's an esports game, like a Dungeons & Dragons style dice roll game. You make an avatar, you roll dice to do a battle move, they fight each other. They use our chain not just for micropayments and creating NFTs, but to record every battle move to the chain for battle data integrity in a world of esports betting getting big, so that they can record by date and time all of the history of the games. Here's a video of some of their game mechanics. If you could turn down the volume just a little bit, I'm going to talk over this. So basically, you'll see here they've done branding deals with Zenescope, which is a big graphic novel producer, to turn their characters into avatars in the game. They record every attack, defense, battle move as a separate data point onto the blockchain, so that you can recreate the battles later and actually evaluate them. You create avatars, and then you roll dice. You play all kinds of different characters. They're licensing from some big IP owners, such as Zenescope, as I mentioned, and creating a really cool game. This game alone generates on any given day 2, 3, sometimes more million BSV transactions a day on one game. Compare that to CryptoKitties, which a few years ago crashed the Ethereum network just when people started buying CryptoKitties NFTs. Here's some of the avatars you can create through their branding deals with Zenoscope. I hope you check it out, CryptoFights, and see some of the power of BSV gaming. For a new entrant into the game space, let's welcome Raheel, who's going to tell you about his company, a very big game publisher called GameStorm Studios, and what they'll be doing with BSV.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, everyone. So GameStorm Studios, we have been developing games for past 12 years. We have right now more than 1,000 games live globally, especially on Google Play Store. We are the T1 publishers working directly with Google Play. And recently, we have been spending like almost $500,000. That is our ad spend on Google Play monthly. So over 1 billion downloads and so many more titles to come. So the GameStorm Studios have been developing casual, hyper-casual, shooting, sniper shooting, all sort of games, and especially one of our farming games, which is actually what I would say, it's a social farming game where users interact with each other. Players can actually invite their friends and family to look at their farm, and they trade together with the local in-app currencies. And this is where I would like to bring the next important thing about gaming on blockchain, and especially the play-to-earn model, Jimmy. And that is where we are coming on BSV blockchain, because especially this game has a very right use case for play-to-earn model.
Yep.
So if, for example, I have a very special NFT that has a special power, and one of my friends wants to be on his farm, and we can trade together. And that is where users are being paid for their games right now. So play to earn and blockchain is definitely the next big thing coming up. And for that, to reduce the price and for fast, reliable blockchain, we are using BSV blockchain to bring our games on this platform. And a few more things to mention. So recently the fan art, obviously. So these are a couple of NFTs I would like to mention. So this is, we did NFTs for Ronaldo and a t-shirt for Ronaldo and Michael Jordan. And this went like huge, like NFTs are the typical use case for blockchain NFTs. A few more things. So this is a very interesting use case for a blockchain is one of our monster truck games where users compete with each. So you can invite your friend to compete. You have a monster truck, your friends own a monster truck, you spend tokens, so you compete together. For example, 5 players compete in a gaming room. They all put like 100 tokens. So the winner takes all. So first 3 winners takes all the tokens. It's a very interesting use case we're bringing on the BSV blockchain as well. So a few more, we're coming up with our own metaverse, and we are coming up with our own token, GSS token on BSV blockchain. And this is also like, just to mention, like crypto fights. So one of our games where users build their own NFTs with unique powers, and they compete with each other, and the winner takes all. So this is so far, whatever the upcoming projects as well from the GameStorm Studios.
Right, and what about the apes? I want to see the apes. People like apes. With
So,
NFTs.
So this is a very recent, inspired from Board Ape Yard Club. So we are coming up with, we're bringing these apes, we developed just a fan art, and we are bringing this on BSV blockchain. And the NFTs are out there in the market, and I think within next 2 weeks, we will be able to publish on BSV.
Fantastic. Can't wait for some of those games. Go check out and download these games from iOS store as well as Android stores. Right, Raheel?
So almost, as I said, that we have almost 1,000 games live on Google Play Store. We publish globally. We're working with different app stores globally, but most of the games are live on Google Play and Apple App Store.
Right. So now let's talk about the choice of blockchain, because I know, Brooklyn, both your companies have NFTs. You're using blockchain. How do you compare the ability, for example, to put the asset on chain with BSV efficiently and the cost of doing the transactions versus other chains, and why do you think companies should look at BSV? Brooklyn?
Yeah, for us, like I mentioned earlier, that was a huge thing for some of our big partners where it's going to be impossible to get a company even half the size of Disney across the line unless it's very scalable.
Can't be $60 per NFT.
Correct, yeah. But as you just mentioned, it was also for us is just having another choice for our users, not being just short-sighted and thinking just all NFTs had to go on Ethereum or these could only go on Solana. We want our creators to be able to publish and have the choice of chain and be able to compare prices.
Sure. Raheel, any thoughts on that?
So the thing is, as you know, that the increasing cost, increasing gas prices, actually, you see people are preferring off-chain. So this is where I really like the idea of BSV blockchain, where the cost is like almost free. The minting cost is like zero. So recently, we were publishing on OpenSea and an Ethereum platform, but the prices were so huge that we saw really decrease in minting. So we are gradually we are shifting on BSV, and we see that the community is building. People are spending more. People are going more and more on-chain transactions rather than going off-chain. So this is pretty interesting.
Yeah, and that's important because recently there was a situation where AWS servers went offline, and people could not access their NFTs they bought, for example, on OpenSea, because the NFT asset they bought doesn't live on chain, and you're basically depending on AWS servers, which is basically you're going back to the world of depending on a centralized data server, which is kind of what blockchain was designed to get past. And so that's an example of why there's a benefit to having assets on chain when it's efficient. Let's talk about what kind of partners or investors you're looking for here. And Brooklyn, you have news today, announcement of an investment deal in your company.
Yeah, just went live with the announcement, or going live in a few hours.
Press release is going out today.
Press release is going out today, but closed
I just saw
an investment with Air Ventures into our company. So we've raised about $15 million total now, and Air came in pretty significantly there. We're heading.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're heading deep into our Series B now, so going down that road. And then looking to connect with people here, that anyone that's into Web3 video.
Yeah, Web3 video. And I like that you're really focused on making things useful for content creators and users. Everyone, remember that. Blockchain needs to be useful. Don't have a coin or an NFT just to have one. Make something useful. That's our BSV ethos. Raheel, what kind of partners, investors, or allies are you looking to meet here?
So Jimmy, you see, gaming makes more. Gaming bridges the gap between blockchain and the users. So people are getting more and more knowledge there, getting more and more awareness about what blockchain is and what are NFTs, and the more practical advantage, the more practical use of NFTs and play-to-earn model comes from gaming. So looking for, media partners, we are looking for, more gaming publishers, the games that we can bring from our platform with BSV, with other blockchains, and also the community builders. So you see, the right use of NFTs comes on games with the right play-to-earn model in place and with right token economics backed by it. So I think this is from my side.
All right, last question very quickly to each of you. What are your company's growth plans, and what can we expect from your company in the future?
Yeah, we're in a pretty high growth mode right now. As mentioned, just closed some more funding and going hard into the Series B. So going to be hiring a ton of engineers, looking to expand with new content platforms and partners. So growth is on the docket for us this year.
Jimmy Nguyen channel coming.
It's coming soon.
Jimmy Nguyen channel, maybe, yeah.
So we are actually expanding right now. We are coming up with more. We're partnering with other game publishers. We are, bringing them games on our platform. We are publishing them globally, and we are making them to play-to-earn model. We are bringing in NFTs and our tokens as well. So we're coming up with a unique token with one token for all. So you have one token
for all. Yes.
One token
I
for
like
all.
that. Like one blockchain for all, one world,
Yes.
one chain. Could you advance to the next slide so we can wrap up for me? Thank you. So I want to thank you for sitting through this hour of our journey through BSV, it's scaling power, it's power and using the blockchain's essence of time stamping to create a more honest and efficient world, and our panels about fintech payments and now of games and NFT. If you want to learn more, come to our BSV Global Blockchain Convention, which will be here in Dubai at the Grand Hyatt, May 24th, 25th, and 26th. I'll be your host and MC for the 3 days, and you'll hear more people like this from around the world, as well as other leaders from the general blockchain and digital asset space. Our mission is very simple: birth the original power of Bitcoin to what it was meant to be, which is a massively scalable blockchain and digital currency system that's actually used every day for the world for something better, more honest, more efficient, not just be a speculative investment asset. If you're interested in learning more about that journey, come find us. We've got a BSV blockchain booth here. Tomorrow we have another BSV hour from 1:50 to 2:50 p.m. where you'll hear panels about use of the BSV blockchain to digitally transform entire nations, as well as build stronger communities and metaverses. So join us at 1:50 tomorrow for another hour of BSV. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your time at AIBC.